Hello, and welcome back to an accusatory episode of Hooky Hour, in which our dearest white-haired girl has been accused of being a witch. Dropping that line. I called it earlier. Not that the game didn't go out of its way to give me a few hundred hints. But yeah, something supernatural is going on with this girl. We're gonna get to the bottom of it, maybe, with the story between her and Michelle, who have both, or well, I shouldn't say both, but Michelle also revealing that he's been cursed as well as the mansion. She's been accused, he's been accursed. I put it that way. We don't know what Mitchell's curse. I think he said. What did he say his curse was? Was it that he was gonna kill? Who was fated to kill. I don't know if he was fated to kill her, or if just he's been cursed to just kill anyone near him in general. So, I guess we'll see. Fade to black. Excellent. I love opening an episode by fading to black. That was on me. Master, please wake up. Return to me. Have you come to, Master? I apologize for sending you through the door without warning. Wait, are we done? It must have given you quite the scare. But I beg your forgiveness. I heard a terrible screaming from down the stairs and I panicked. You say you saw the white-haired girl? I see you made it into the world beyond the door before me. I am deeply relieved that I was able to take your hand before losing sight of you. I presume you have already grown familiar with the atmosphere of this time period, Master. If you have seen her, as you said, then you should have a basic grasp of the situation. She was a very misfortunate girl in this era, accused of being a witch, abused and persecuted. Her life was in constant danger. It was, again, her appearance that brought this upon her. That snow-white hair and those ruby-red eyes clearly differentiated her from everyone else. Oh, and I apologize. I neglected to mention that this door is unique. What is the voice saying? Saying something. I don't know if the music will be turned up enough to hear it, but I do hear something. As for what sets it apart, that will be made clear as we proceed. The one difference is in the time period. The tales I have shown you began with that of the beautiful flaxen-haired family, followed by the tale of a bloodthirsty beast, and then the tale of steel and ambition, proceeding in chronological order. However, the door we have just entered takes us to the period now known as the Middle Ages, long, long before the other three tales. Yes, that is correct. This is where it all began. The mansion's curse, the truth of the witch, and your identity. All of this should be made known. If after this tale you are still unable to reclaim your old self, then there is nothing more I can do. This door contains the last tale I am able to tell you. So I ask of you, please do not let go of my hand until it is all over. Now then, let us begin a beautiful, tragic love story of two solitary souls trapped in a mansion of darkness. In that era, the mansion was a dungeon draped in darkness. After a great deal of time on the run, the white-haired girl found herself at a remote mansion that stood in a dark, overgrown forest. All the windows were either boarded or shuttered, and it was even darker inside the house than out. Not even a ray of moonlight could enter those walls. Only naturally, the white-haired girl had assumed that nobody lived there. But her guess was incorrect. Someone did indeed dwell in the house. It was a young man named Michael. Just gonna go roll with Michael. I think it's funny that way. Though she could not make out the details of his face in the candlelight, she thought him a very handsome man. However, he proclaimed to her that a witch resided within the mansion, and that he too was cursed. Everyone who got close to him lost their lives. Do you think what he told her was all nonsense? A lie devised to chase her out of the house. The truth of the matter shall come to light in time. But how do you fit in, Miss Maid? Despite Michael's assertions, the white-haired girl decided she would take up residence within the mansion. This era's white-haired girl was younger than the others. She was still in her early teens, young enough to still be seen as a child. PDF file alert. But she was neither as self-centered nor irresponsible as you might expect of someone her age. You better watch yourself, Michael. We're watching you. She was very delicate and reserved, and acted with a great deal of modesty and restraint. The accusations of her being a criminal and a sinner were grossly inappropriate. Nevertheless, she was still chased from her home, barely managing to flee to this mansion with her life. Now, the white-haired girl thought it would be rude to simply take up space in the mansion, so she chased down the master, Michael, and asked, is there anything I can do to help? I will clean or cook or do anything, just let me know. Ah! I must always hold this candle. I want to repay you for allowing me to stay here. He feels so, like, the face is just, like, so peeved. He's like, ugh, this shit again. You need not feel indebted to me. The weight of that obligation will only turn into disdain. But I just can't stay here and do nothing. Do whatever you like. As long as you do not enter my room. That is all I ask of you. Okay. He said emotionlessly, turning away and walking off. Michael was not, I believe, spurning her. He was merely disinterested. He did not treat her disrespectfully, nor did he seem averse to her presence. Words simply did not seem to affect him at all. Not only was the mansion a prison for his body was also a prison ensnaring his heart. I should still do whatever I can. But she did not let that get her down. In fact, she might have even interpreted his disinterest as kindness. Though he was a bit standoffish, he did not attempt to cause her harm. He was nothing like the people who had accused her of being a witch and forced her to flee for her life. And she was deeply grateful for that. Thus began their quiet life together. Michael, who avoided contact with others, and the white-haired girl, who had taken a great deal of abuse from others. Two people who knew hardly anything about one another, who were too distant to really be said to be living together. Michael spent most of his day in his chambers, so they only ever saw each other occasionally, and they hardly ever spoke. Though they stayed in the same house, they both still lived solitary lives. Nonetheless, the white-haired girl wanted to get to know Michael better. She wanted to know why he called himself cursed. Why he lived alone in this dark mansion. How many days, how many years had he spent here in solitude? And while she waited for the opportunity, she also started doing things around the house. Gotta scratch my everywhere. It's like, oh no, my whole body just started to like itch. Really annoying. The first project she set out to take care of was cleaning. As the windows were all firmly shut, her only source of light was candles. For whatever reason, there was a great deal of candles stored in the cellar. She wondered where on earth he had acquired so many, but she never found the opportunity to ask him. It was difficult to even see all the dust and cobwebs with only candlelight, and considering the poor airflow through the house, she was afraid her efforts were going to be in vain. Still, she persisted, sweeping and wiping things down, one room at a time. Eventually, she made her way to the library. The dust that had settled there was much heavier than in any other room. With each breath, she had to fight back coughs. Hack, hack, hack. I'm sorry. I don't know why I felt the compulsion to do that, but I did. It was not a room one would normally be comfortable spending much time in, but the sight of so many bulky volumes lining the shelves sent her heart aflutter with delight. They're books. Incredible, real books. Wow. Oh, well, okay. The white-haired girl had never seen a book before. She had heard people describe them. That was the first time she had ever seen one for herself. Parchment was a very valuable commodity in that era. Yeah, that makes sense. It was something monks or scholar they're just some English words, man. Scholarly, rural. Ugh, they just you have to clench your mouth to say it. Rural. Scholarly. Scholarly priests made use of, and not a material one could easily acquire without some degree of social rank. But she was the rank of a witch. She got everything for free, including knives to the chest. Books were not printed with machines, but copied by hand. A single volume took an incredible amount of work to create. Even the process of binding was an art. Standing before a shelf, she stared intently at the spines. I was about to say spikes, but no. Spines? There's so much dust. Does he not read any of them? Just a peek. Just a tiny little peek. She said, making excuses to the empty room as she reached her hand toward one of the books. I'm going to assume it falls over. The tome that caught her eye was on the upper shelf. It bore a gorgeous jade embossing and looked like it belonged in a treasure chest. Almost. Though she tended to act older than her age, the white-haired girl was still in her early teens and not especially tall. Even standing tiptoe, it was still just barely within reach. At long last, her slender fingers made contact with the spine. As she began to pull the book toward her. The library had sat abandoned for some time, causing the covers to stick together. So when she attempted to pull one out, several others tilted with it. And then... sploosh! Almost all the books on the shelf came avalanching down onto her, just like the previous scenario that we visited while going around the mansion. So I guess this was a pretty important scene from the looks of it. Very cool how... I don't know, this game's got some interesting foreshadowing. And... I don't know. I don't know what to make of this game's foreshadowing just yet, considering that this scene was important enough for the mansion to replay it for us. I guess we will find out why that may be next time on Hooky Hour. Especially, hold on, no. Especially with all the other memories involving shadow people. Why didn't this one? It's a good question. It's a question I will probably be asking myself until we finish. But nonetheless, thank you all for watching. And I will see you next time on Hooky Hour. Till then, bye.